Hi everyone, we've got a horrible day. The weather's terrible. I've already been out today. I've been over to Manchester and the weather's been absolutely horrendous. So I've got a little bit of time today, so I thought I'd continue my drive like an instructor series. I'm going to be looking at some bad weather. What I'm going to do, because I've been setting the cameras up, the car's all misted up, so I'm just going to get the car started and demisted before we go, and then we'll get working. Before we do though, lights really important to be having on. Cars nowadays have daytime running lights, brilliant, but that's not enough. I need to make sure that I have dipped headlights on, which we've got on here. You could turn your switch straight to dipped headlights if your car has automatic lights. But daytime running lights sometimes aren't enough. Don't forget, the time daytime running lights are just at the front. But weather like this, any poor weather during the day, dipped headlights is your option. So dipped headlights are on. The car is going to demist, the air conditioning's on. I'll just get rid of my secondary audio source. Get that out of the way so it doesn't bang or make any noise. What else are we going to talk about? Well, the other thing that is quite important on certain cars nowadays is to select the correct mode for the conditions. A harder suspension setting, if you've got a car with switchable modes, you may not, but if you do, a softer setting generally gives you a little bit more grip and a little bit more subtlety, if you like, in wet weather conditions. So always make sure my car is in comfort, which it is, or the suspension's on the softer setting. You don't want that harshness in wet conditions. Is there anything else that you could do? Well, yeah, you want little power. You don't want the sportier settings if your car is, again, has these switchable modes. Make sure it's on a dull down setting, but if it isn't, you have to be using all your controls smoothly. It's a little bit, excuse me, just sticking the rear demister on. It will demist because I've got air conditioning on, but the rear demister is going to get working now as well. But yeah, what I was going on to say about was the settings of the car, and even if your car hasn't got any switchable modes, you must be using the controls smoothly. It's like, I always make an analogy, like if you were walking in poor conditions, whether it be ice, whether it be rain, you couldn't walk quickly round a corner in the snow. You might be able to do a little bit more in the wet weather, and it's the same in the car. What you must make sure is that you're driving the conditions. So we're going to be smooth, we're going to try and plan even more, we're going to be making sure that we're seen, and that's the key. Because when it rains, obviously the cloud cover comes in and we're a little bit dull. We're driving a black car, so that's why it's all important to have lights on, not just in the car as well, any vehicle that you're operating, any bike as well. Make sure you have your lights on even in good weather conditions. So we're going to have a little look at this drive. I've got a little route planned in my head. It's not really going to be a lot of town driving, because town driving at the speeds that you are, the 20s and the 30s, for me isn't a big difference. I think the big difference comes on the faster roads and the outer town roads. So we're going to have a little trip out to the motorway. We're going to join the motorway. I'm going to head towards the south end of Liverpool and try and do a little bit of work on a couple of back roads, and then we'll take it from there. So I'm going to try and do my normal talk as I do it. I've got nothing planned, so we're just going to get going. I can see enough out of all the windows. It's a real important skill as well when you are driving in poor weather conditions to learn to look through the rain. It seems a silly little expression sometimes, but you have to learn to focus past the raindrops on your window and past the raindrops on your mirror as well. And yeah, you've got two to go through. Can it help sometimes just to put your window down briefly and back up? Absolutely yes. So do that if you need to. reflections and things, I can see a car coming, a van. There you go. So I'm just going to sit still, I'm not going to flash him. I've left him plenty of room to go through. Thanks, buddy. So that was the first thing in one of my neighbours' vans, Danny here on the left. You could see the reflection of the other vehicle coming the other way. That's the importance of lights as well. Make certain that you do have lights on. Here, mine set on the downhill section. There's like a stream of water going across the road as well, so just do the braking really early. This is the bit that if you're going to die, you're going to die right at the edge. So this is the bit that you've got to pay special attention to today as well when you're dealing with junctions. Do your utmost to plan and keep things moving. No worries. Clues off what other people do are always important. So you can probably see the red car approaching the give way. You can see whether there's going to be major problems a lot or not often just by watching other vehicles. So again, really slow and smooth. Acceleration wise, I've got to be nice and gentle moving away as well, because although we have traction control on and will stop any big wheel spin, might be a little bit of slip initially and that could delay you getting out. So picking the correct gaps to actually emerge, join traffic and fit into traffic is all really important. Turning right at the lights. Thinking here regarding the weather, not much really. I'm just going to give myself loads of space. Make certain you always give yourself plenty of room. People think that I've got to join the back of that queue and get really close. It doesn't actually help the flow. What helps the flow is if you can see, you can plan. So what I'm doing here, because I'm turning right, I'm crossing traffic. By being further back, I get an earlier view of the traffic coming in the opposite direction. So I can plan now when my gap's going to arrive, and it's probably after the Vauxhall. I'm just appreciating where people are going behind in case I need to move up further a little bit sooner. Very good signal from the Vauxhall, but we sorted it out, no bothers. So look at all the standing water. Roads like this, I'm thinking I'm not going to splash people. There's a pedestrian up here. I'm just going to lane change now. Used an opportunity. Don't want to splash him, although I think he's soaking already. But try and do your utmost to not splash people. Look at this situation to the left. That lady, she's going to get the shopping bags full of water if people do that. So this scenario, I know it's featured on many of my videos. Don't get into a habit of getting across at a set time. It depends on what the situation's like. It depends on what you should do. So splashing or not splashing pedestrians should be something that we're thinking of. Anything else with standing water? What does standing water do for your car? Well, coming back from Manchester this morning, I had a few of the signs saying on the motorway, standing water, slow, and I had one little situation where there was a big puddle. Just keep an eye on the van, making sure he didn't have any issues coming back to me. So yeah, there was one situation where I had a load of standing water, and it's actually probably only about the third time in my driving life that I've had a car aquaplane. It felt as though, you've seen those snowmobiles going across water, it felt as though it was like that. Okay, it was only for a second, but forget, when that happens you are actually out of control utterly. So look for these scenarios. What can you do to stop that happening or go slower? I was only doing about 50 miles an hour on a motorway, to be honest, so the puddle was quite significant, so there's not much you can do. You've just got to maybe back off your gas, don't try and steer, just hope that that control comes back to you. So aquaplaning is a problem. By shops, we've got some shops here on the left and some houses, giving cars even more room today because people in the wet weather, they're not going to be wanting to get wet, although we are waterproof, our skin's waterproof, people don't want to get wet and they tend to just rush everywhere without looking and really watching appropriately. So remember, it's our job in the car to look out for other people who are at more risk than us, and these are the new proposed changes in the highway code, which pretty sure are going to come in. All right, are we going to have more or less road users on two wheels today? Well, probably less, but don't forget they are massively affected by puddles, especially the cycles. I'm going through a big deep puddle on a road bike. I suppose you could. I suppose it would cut through quite nicely, but you cyclists out there who watch this series and watch my videos, let us know what you would do with a puddle. You can't see what's in that puddle, so I'm suspecting that you would be going round. So if we're operating a vehicle and we see a cyclist and there's standing water like we've got now, we've got to expect people to go round. That's what I would be thinking. That's what I would be doing, and giving them even more room if we can, as much space as you can do safely. So, anything else? Motorcyclists, you're going to see less of them today as well, I'm suspecting. When I've had motorbikes, there was probably only about 2 or 3 days throughout the year that they used to go out on mine, when it wasn't too hot, wasn't too cold, wasn't too wet, too dry. You're not obviously going to have a problem, but you get where I'm coming from. Not all motorcyclists treated a motorcycle like I did, but anyway, probably less then, but I'm always checking bob and tons. So we're off, we're going. We're sitting people's blind spots, so I'm adjusting my acceleration to suit the Audi. The Cougar next to me is very close, so the bus could be a problem. So notice I've just backed away from that problem, and then I'll pick the speed up. Now this is a contentious issue with certain people, but I'm still doing the speed of it. Not probably at the moment, because I've backed off for the lights, but there's no issue if visibility is good enough. We'd go and speed of it, unless we've got standing water where we could very well have problems with aquaplaning. But just in wet weather doesn't necessarily mean that you've got to go slower. It means that you've got to have a bigger separation distance. The Mercedes four-wheel drive behind is catching, so all I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to warn them early, show them brake lights early. I'm in charge of how they are then slowing down. I'm turning right at the roundabout, so let people know as and when we can. Good. Lights have flowed nicely. I've just backed off away from this one to my left. Remember, do your utmost to not be next to people when they're going around corners and on these roundabouts. If I was next to this white Fiesta and they suddenly just turned right, you're going to cause a collision. So do what you can, even though that's their fault. Do what you can to fix it. I'm going to do exactly the same here. I know this guy to the right who lives near me, and he does some airport transfers. So I haven't seen a plate on the back of his on his minibus, but he was aware of me before when we went past. He said hi. But what I'm going to do now, I'm going to adjust my acceleration. Doesn't always mean going away slowly, doesn't always mean going away quickly. But if I am going to go away quickly, I'm going to make sure that I'm smooth. I'm going to make sure I'm going to do the majority of my accelerating on straight parts as well, especially with these rear wheel drive BMWs. So I'm going to let the minibus stay in front, not next to anyone. I'm back far enough so I can be seen. And now if I need to accelerate, that's when I can get going. But again, I'm adjusting my acceleration to suit. I'm already trying to pick up on what the flow's like on the motorway. I'm okay to go into lane 1. I'm going to get into the lane, cancel the signal, reapply it, then people know I wish to go further out. So, simple things in these weather conditions, separation distance. As this Vauxhall goes past where the slip road splits, where the bushes are, I'm going to count 1 banana, 2 banana, 3 banana, 4 banana, further away than 4 seconds comfortably. And I'm going to try and ensure that that happens. So even when the Mercedes comes back in, if they do, Probably not going to, because no one's coming up behind. I would have allowed them to get away from me. You don't necessarily need to slow a lot unless the space that they move into is making the situation dangerous. If they move in and they're moving away, that risk is decreasing by them moving away, but we're managing our space all the time. So I'm doing 63 miles an hour. For me, normally these conditions that would do me, but remember that as long as visibility is good, you don't necessarily have to go slower. These two on the left, I'm just going to keep back until, there you go, I've found out what they're doing. Now I am going to use lane 3. I'm going to assess the standing water on the motorways as well. Sometimes the outside lanes do actually have a lot more standing water, and that's maybe what this soft road is doing. No, they're actually moving back to the left. Fair play to them. They're a bit slow doing it, and I'm just going to get forward enough just so they can see me before I then come back in. I'm never going to go back in right alongside, but I'm always ready for my escape route. So 4 seconds was still good. I'm not going to get within that unless someone else takes my space, and then I've got to correct it. But I'm always aware, I'm always ready to go out. There you go, I'm doing 68 miles an hour. Visibility is okay, can still stop in the distance I see is clear. A lot of the other traffic, this one that we've just gone past was travelling too closely to the grey BMW. Grey BMW is doing a good job with the lorry, so just sort of conscious of how people are. Notice the lights in front as well on the vehicles aren't very visible. Now I've seen a few people be putting fog lights on. Now fog lights are for fog, aren't they? But what if visibility was seriously reduced? Would you put your fog lights on in that situation? I'm going to leave that one open to my viewers and let you comment down on what you think. Now, just as I've gone past that lorry, I'm going to move back into lane 1. I am going to signal because there's a car catching me behind. Just want you to think about what this car does automatically with its wipers. I know a lot of cars nowadays, they do have automatic wipers that come on a lot quicker when they go past certain lorries. But if your car hasn't got automatic wipers that do that sufficiently, get your wipers on full belt before you even get to the lorry. Now, I'm going to get out into lane 2 before I even get near that 4-second gap. Don't leave it until you're there and then start planning your overtake. Again, standing water is a little bit of an issue. You can see the different types of road surface here as well. I'm just going to back off, saw the one come out. We had the Mercedes, got a fair canter down the motorway there, so you don't want to be in the middle of any problems. You don't want to be in the middle of someone moving from the left and you've got someone to your right. So the different road surface now has changed, and as you can see, there's a lot more standing water. I felt the car move slightly there, so notice what I've done with my speed. I've dropped it down. We're now doing 56 miles an hour. Just had a little look at the blue one to the left to see where they were heading. I am going to come back into lane 1. In fact, no one's catching me. I'm just going to sit here just because we've got this junction joining. Any lane changing is a steer effectively. So what we're going to do, we're going to try and minimise that risk. So I'm just checking early to see what's coming down the slip road. Absolutely nothing. No one. Oh, the van is catching behind, so I am going to left signal as we move across. Good. How fast is that van going, do you think? Intelligent Environmental Services. Not very intelligent driver, if you ask me. However, each to their own, but we have got to be looking out for the people who drive like that. With the potential risk of standing water, that's why I'm sat doing 60, not holding anyone up. No issues whatsoever. Good tyres are really important in poor weather as well. One thing I'll never, ever, ever do is skimp on tyres. The branded tyres, I know they're expensive, but if you can't afford to put good tyres on your car, get less of an expensive car and put better tyres on it. That's what I would do. I often see people drive nice vehicles, new vehicles, maybe a year old, they're all baldy tyres as I sit and wait in the queue alongside of them, and I can't understand that. The tyres have only got a small contact area with the road surface to have the best possible grip you can. Else you're going to end up in a ditch or a hedge or a tree or something. Now I've moved across because we are going to head off the motorway, and I'm going to down, do the spiral roundabout or gyratory roundabout that you may have seen on my other videos. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I'll put a link up in the corner. Now we're going to head off. Signal wise, is it affecting anyone? Yes, because there is a car without lights on back there. It may just know, or let them know then, that they can move back to lane 1. Now again, I'm slow and early. Using the brake lights early as a big warning to cut through any of the spray that could be made by my car. I'm going to turn right, we're going to all the way back down to Heighton. So quick go of this spiral roundabout. The different road surface here, it looks pretty good condition, so ready to do the slow. Choose my gear before the bend, and then still ready to slow. We're on. Always have a little check as we're going through. So we're following the road for Heighton. Some matrix signs warning of a slower speed. What do you think that's for? Is that for an accident? Maybe. Someone hasn't been driving to the conditions. Maybe it may just be for the conditions. So always ready for that. So amber light means yeah, if you can stop, you can stop. There was no one directly behind, so that's not a problem. This roundabout, this is the wrong sign on the floor, so it should be, if Heighton's the next one on the floor, that I don't have to move further to the right, but the highways agency have got that one wrong, or whoever is responsible for painting the roads. So we're okay in this lane now. That's why I've cancelled the signal. I'm just aware of people around. I've got lovely big space around my car, so no big deal. Slow and early again. Standing water, always look for it coming off fields, and when you're in dips, just be careful of standing water. Underneath trees as well, can be a little slippy. With all the sap and the stuff that comes off the trees, it can cause the road surface to be slippy. So again, no one's around me, loads of space, could easily stop. Yeah, we're through. Cross view as well, learn to look over there, not just here in front, and to see what's what. Okay, so I'm going to head on this road for a bit, and I'm going to look left, I'm going to go down a few country roads, and then we're going to nip back to that gyratory roundabout and then come back down the motorway. So as you can see, it's generally going to be the faster stuff that we're dealing with. These road surfaces, I don't know whether I've talked about them before, like sandpaper. It used to be made by Shell, I think, called Shell Grip many years ago. I don't know who holds not copyright, who holds the license to produce it nowadays, I don't know. But it's for greater grip. It's probably about, I think we'd say 30% more grip, but it's about 3 times more expensive. It used to be. That was a few years ago when I did some fleet training. So if you see these areas, that's an area of bigger danger. Can we be seen? Yeah, no pedestrians, no issues. Look around your junction and adapt to what we're doing. We are going to turn at the next set of traffic lights. Just keep an eye on the Ford. It's not moving. Oh, it is a little, so I was just watching it. Cool. I'm going to turn left. So because the conditions, try and tell people earlier with your signal. Don't get into a routine of putting your signal on at a set time. Change your signals to suit each situation that you're going into. Smooth acceleration around the corner. On the straight part again, no one's around. Build. Don't want to do too much. A few houses about, and it doesn't change from a 40 to a national speed up until we're past the signs. Notice all the leaves. It's getting to that sort of time of the year. It's turned into October when I'm filming this. It might be a couple of weeks before this goes out, but where there are leaves on the road, they're really slippy. You think of walking on leaves. So although it's a national speed limit, in the world, I'm going to be absolutely tonking it down here in these conditions. There could be a tractor that pulls out with a plough that's been out from behind. So you've got to be thinking of farm vehicles also. It's not necessarily an issue in this part of the country, but I know it can be in different parts. But farm animals as well, the sheep in particular, can be all over the road, so always be able to stop in the distance you see is clear. Okay, we're going to get down to the end. We're going to turn left, do a few country roads. Okay, what you're going to see. Normal braking earlier creates more time at the bit that I'm going to die. You know what? No, I'm not going to pull out there. Probably could have done in the dry, not nicely. Now they're turning. You can go. No one's overtaking. We're all good. So emerging, you have to be a little bit more careful, because don't forget your acceleration can't be as quick, and people's brakes need a little bit more time to get them slowed in these conditions. So be mindful of how you emerge. Don't just go, yeah, that normally go. It changes dramatically. So we've got a 50 limit, so we've got a fair bit of standing water, but I'm doing what, 45, fifth gear's okay, no issues. Changes back down to 40. This car fifth just about works at 40, but it's more flexible in fourth. All cars are not the same, they're all different. So again, listen to your engine and drive to what's what. I'm not going to splash the jogger, that's all fine. I'm going to have a good look around this corner to see what's what. Solid line, you didn't know, you should do, I would have thought, means no overtaking. So no overtaking does mean, I'm just going to touch on this just quickly, unless the vehicle that you're overtaking, especially cyclist, is under 10 miles an hour. If a cyclist is not under 10, it's doing 15, wait until the solid line goes back to a broken one and it's safe for you to actually get on with it. So it's a misunderstood rule in the highway code. I think it's 129. So yeah, it's not just you can overtake a cyclist if you need to cross the line. The cyclist has to be going low 10. Right, so this road leaves again. There's flowing water down in the gutter. There's a lot of entrances, so that's why I've just taken a little bit easy. The van was over my central line as well, and that was another reason why I've taken a little bit easier. What if a farm vehicle came around here with a plough stuck out to my side of the road? And you may have seen my video inches from death with Nathan, who made a big mistake trying to overtake the tractor at that point. But I alluded to in that video the tractor come around the corner with the plough stuck on my side of the road, and it sticks with me because it was one of those sort of like heart misses a beat moments. Okay. I'm going to go too quick down here again. I was around. If there were, I'd be bullied into doing something that's unsafe by anyone behind. Now, here, what I'm going to do, just to make things a little safer, I'm actually going to go over the centre line. I'm going to be in the middle of the road. No entrances. It lessens the risk of puddles. There you go. Perfect example. Again, Ashley being psychic. Not doing too much here because we're on a left-hand bend, but I hope you got onto that where I had a nice straight part of road, sometimes straddling the two lanes, as long as there's no entrances where people could come out, might mean that you can then reduce the risk of standing water. And that's something that I do constantly, but again, you can't do it all the time. You get in the routine of doing things, ensure that you're doing things to suit the road. So we've got a stop junction, positioned perfectly well. Come to your stop. Don't need the handbrake. No, we're all fine. Off we go. Reassessing my mirrors to assess the acceleration that I need to give it. Standing water again. That's what I mean. Coming off the fields, you can sometimes see that. Have to go through puddles, do as I did there, go through nice and straight, nice and slow, maybe even just dry your brakes after. It seems a bit mad, dry your brakes in these conditions, but you just take that maybe water off the surface of the brakes. It if you've gone through a steep puddle, or a deep puddle I should say, you may very well have a little bit better grab straight away if you need them. So that's what I would tend to do. Again, no one's coming, no one's overtaking me, so I'm going to take the straddle position. No issues on this road. Would you do that? Or would you just be stuck in the middle of your lane? Because this reduces risk, provided you do it in the correct situation. I'm going to come back in as we go to the junction. Turn left, we're going to head back down to the motorway. Again, slow emerge. I know it looked clear, but I'm just making absolute certain that's the bit, remember, that you're going to die. The car behind's turning, so there's no rush for me to use heavy acceleration and increase the risk of wheel spin, and that's why we're trying to emerge safely and make sure we've got big gaps. I don't think you'll be able to pick up on the video the amount of movement that the car is having with these puddles and the standing water. So again, we've got to be mindful of that. National speed of the road, sat doing 44. You know what? It's enough for me. Notice on the road here as well where the tracks of the lorries' wheels go. That's often where the water collects, and that's where I originally had my first dose of aquaplaning in a situation like that as well. So if you can avoid the tracks of the lorry but still stay in your lane safely with the other people around, that might be something else that you decide to do. No one's behind. I'm going to turn right at this spiral roundabout again. So we go back onto the motorway and have another little look. Some motorway, nice gap, picking third, flowing on. No issues. So we're going for the M57, so we move across to this lane this time. And that M57 marking there is correct. I know it is. It's roundabout all the time, so we can cancel my signal now. Alright, is there anything else that you would be doing and you would be thinking in these weather conditions? Would you adapt your acceleration? Would you adapt how you're moving away here to grow this gap, or would you just routinely just be getting on with it at the same level? You need to change. You need to change what you're doing to suit. Private hire driver, is he just going to come into this lane? He just cut the corner of it. So now I've got a chance to get past him. I'm past, but I'm still aware of everyone else. I don't want to go into this pinch point. And the red one as well. Now heading on to the 57. No one next to me, to my right. Maybe these now because they're slow away, so full signal. Just reinforces that I'm heading off and not going to do it wrong like many people do. Let's increase my gap. Let's grow my gap because this Peugeot isn't accelerating briskly enough. We've got the Golf behind as well, GTD Golf, so we've got a fair bit of power and torque, pulling power, but I'm in charge, control how I accelerate. I'm not going to be bullied into doing things, but I do want to try and pick the speed up to match these if I've got to fit in. But luckily enough, this motorway, you get your own lane, so I'm comfortable here for a little if needed. What's visibility like now? I think it's a lot worse, to be honest, so I'm going to choose a different option. I'm not going to get to my speed limit. Why is that one getting out? No one's to my right. There's a lorry. Just about make out that. So visibility is poor. That's when you've got to bring your speed down. So what I said earlier on at the start about wet weather doesn't necessarily mean that you go slower. It doesn't. Standing water may do. Visibility absolutely does. So always be able to stop in the distance you see is clear. So if I have to sit and trundle with lorries 57 miles an hour, I'm doing. No issues. Standing water. Notice the lines where the lorries' wheels go. Just position my wheels slightly to the right side, but I'm just mindful of where people are. We're in a little bit of a dip at the moment. I know this area to the left is a golf course, because I used to be a member of it years ago, like the Prescott Golf Club. all the water's going to come off the golf course down onto the motorway, and this motorway is liable to flood quite commonly. So, like I said, no issues with staying in this left lane. 58 miles an hour, keeping up with the lorry, keeping good distances. If I do 70, it's 10 miles per hour. It'll only take me 10 minutes. I think I'd rather be 10 minutes later. I think it'll be nice and chilled, nice and relaxed, and a lot safer. Just keep that in mind. Rush to get there. So I am just going to push things on. I'm going to contradict myself a little, just because I want to push on to show you what we can do if we have to overtake lorries. I'm actually going to go all the way out to lane 3. No issues. So if you see people do that, if you're coming up behind, appreciating these conditions, that might be a safer option. No problems. This lane does seem pretty free of water. I'm just going to be mindful of all the traffic. A little bit more water now, so change my mind. Go back over there. Adapt what you're doing. Change what you're doing. I'm just going to grow my gap. Sometimes it takes a few moments to make a decision on what to do. I'm not going to go into that lane that looks as though there's a lot of standing water, and again it seems a low part, but I'm off my pedals altogether. It's not growing that gap well enough, so I'm just going to be mindful of this. They must be slowing down in front. So decision, do a hold back further or do I overtake? Let's see what the DPD van is doing. You know what? Not worth it for me. Gap's got a little bit better now. Sometimes that 4 second gap can be compromised a little. You won't always be able to do it at every single point, but you need to try to. Not going back into the left before all you little lane hogger shouters start spouting out, because there's a junction coming out from the left. So no in the world I'm doing that just yet. I'm actually staying on the motorway a little touch further up, so I'm making an assessment whether we're catching this one or not. There's no one catching me behind, so because I'm slightly catching this one on the left, I'm going to stay put. There's that lane light to the right. For me, visibility is too bad to even risk doing that. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to hold back a little bit of this one so I'm not in his blind spot, just behind his blind spot so I can see the driver in his mirrors. And now I'm going to use a little more to get past him, a little brisker, so I'm in that blind spot area for less time. And now I'm going to settle and just keep with the flow. Sometimes you need to do that. You can't just keep at a steady speed all the time. You have to adapt for the conditions. Got the Ford overtaking, that's the one in front, move back in, so we've got a little bit more space out in front now. We're not going off to Knowsley Industrial Park and boom, so I'm going to stay put in this lane. So he was closer than 4 seconds, but because he was going away from me, that risk was then lessening, so it was okay. Again, visibility is pretty bad. Totally fine where we are, no one's near me, I've got loads of space around, so it's no problems. 60 miles an hour still for me, it seems comfortable. Could I go more? Yeah, had a push, but again, it's not worth it. The amount of time it saves you is negligible, so forget it. Now we are going to be heading off a little touch further up, so again, is it worth pushing past just to be one car in front? No. Keep the flow going. If people want to overtake, let them overtake. No big deal. I know this method of driving, probably not in these conditions, it might be suitable, but this method of driving and this mindset of driving may not be suitable for all IAM or some of the Rossman stuff, but honestly I don't care. I'm not trying to be the fastest driver I can everywhere. That's not what driving should be about, in my opinion. It should be reducing risk as much as you can and having the ability to do that. So I'm always looking for people who are going to come and cause my space problems. Whether anyone's particularly quick overtaking and whether they slow down as they pass me. If they slow down as they pass me, they're probably going to come in. No, we're all okay. That's what I mean about the fog lights. Do you think that's the correct decision by that car? These conditions, visibility less than 100 metres? What if it was? So if you haven't already, please leave a comment down below about what you think about fog lights in poor weather. So we've finished our motorway stretch, turning left, just telling the BMW to our right, and again I'm doing all the braking as early as I can, don't want to leave it to the very end. Try and play this game, try and play the game of arrive later and then keep moving past the BMW, which is going to stop like this. Always have a little check and away we go. So for the people who just race up to the lights, it hires fuel economy. In other words, you're going to use more fuel. It's a lot safer to do what I was doing there, to slow early. People don't get that if you slow early, you actually have a higher average speed because you're able to keep yourself going through things a little more. Lower pieces of the road where the road comes down, the car spraying the water, I've got room if needed. No pedestrians, no, I've just kept to the offside of my lane. Even though it's not going to do your car any damage to go through water like that, don't know what's in it. And you can, like I've already explained, move your car from one side to the other. Keep really observant, adjust your acceleration like I've been doing. So what kind of things you picked up from that video? Hopefully someone's always here to do a little bit of learning sometimes. Just watch my videos to criticise, I get that as well. I actually think that that's an important part as well, because then there's people who do criticise certain things. Of course, you've got your opinion, but we've got a very knowledgeable bunch on our viewers and subscribers, and quite often, especially now, I don't get involved in loads of the comments because I don't need to, because the subscribers that we have on this channel are very knowledgeable people a lot of the time, and often the comments that are made on certain things that I do are answered by other people. So thank you very much for everyone getting involved, and please do always have an opinion. Just do it in the right way, do it in a nice way, not like all of the sledging that goes on social media. It's not something that I think is right. We should all be working together to get things better, just like we should be doing in the car. Tell me what you think about this today. Did you spot anything that I was doing wrong or you wouldn't do? Let us know. Glad to answer anything if I need to. Just think about these weather conditions as we go into this different time of the year. More and more common. This is the first chance I've had, I think, this year to that wasn't very good out in front as well. So the black one, the black Volkswagen in front, wasn't taking into account the private hires signal to come back in. Was it because they were just focused and fixed on the first car, which was me? It was. People do. Never look at the first car when you're emerging, always look at the final one. So, well done for this private hire as well, to not make the situation worse, just fixed it, sorted it, got on with his day. Brilliant. That's how it should be. But thank you so much for all your support. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope this helps. I hope it helps many different people from many different standards of driving. And if there's anything that you would like to see in the future, let me know. See you all soon.